so good.
Cool. All right, so I'm live on the stream now. We've got John Simmons who's following our antics rather closely as well.
Well, welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying the story and whatnot. If you're more interested in the background, I can provide more details needed. So I think we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Just Mike Scott out, and Lars texted me and said he's just running late. His work is probably going about as well as mine is right now. So, yeah, nothing else since. So Lars will pop on a bit. He was here last time, so I'll review for everybody else and as well as you guys who were out the what went on last time. It was really mostly investigation. So the main thing everybody did was go to the museum here in Breslau, which has kind of like the information about the Eisenmach, the Iron Maiden, and the castle. So I'll throw up some pictures. So we got Burgelt and the Iron Maiden, at least her mask. And then when they went to the museum, they saw one of the samples of one of the, I guess you could say, like her robots or whatnot. And as far as their appearance, I mean, this one was a little bit damaged and somewhat taken apart. But from all outward appearances, it just looks like a normal size, average man in Gothic plate armor. The armor itself is mostly mundane. I mean, your standard like steel plates, but under and around each of the steel plates, and in the body itself is mainly constructed by laminated resin sheets. So it is somewhat of an artificial construction. And inside of the body itself, the arms, legs, limbs, head, it is a clockwork machine. So this is like actual mechanical parts making this thing, be able to move about. And then the main structure of the body is this resin, and then it has the plates somewhat for armor, but also, as I said, each of the plates is sort of on a base of resin and has this resin sheet curled around each of the edges. So the metal plates aren't clanking together. They are relatively silent in the way they move about. The head has seemed to be some sensory device on it, either picking up sound or light of some kind. But other than that, it's pretty much just gears and mechanisms in the head. So you figure you probably cut things head off, or even one of the limbs, it would probably still keep operating. When they investigated, and they did have to bribe the people working there, so the museum had a staff of several different people, but and I'm blanking on the name again. The curator, the sort of the guy running it, was a rather eccentric fellow named Eckhard Faulhaber. This is his picture here. Oop. Control. No, come on. Windows. Yeah, there we go. And he was very possessive of this stuff. He was definitely open to sharing all this information, but the sample of this mechanic clockwork soldier was sort of on a dais surrounded by the little velvet ropes. But between a charm and some other persuasions of a somewhat special or supernatural nature on the part of the team, they were able to convince him to let them have access to it, poke around, maybe even try a couple, not attacks quite, but using their powers on the device. And he agreed to it with the promise that you would find him a new sample. So through whatever you went through, if you could bring back a current one of these robots, he used initially just maybe as an insurance in case you damage the original, but this is a very old piece, and he would like a new sample, as well as anything interesting you get him from the castle, should you all make it out. Upon closer examination, inside of the main body, there were 12 what you'd be described as nodes. They just seem to be sort of round or oval sort of shaped, almost like egg or tennis ball size or shaped spheres distributed evenly throughout the main body. They weren't in any particular location, so it wasn't like there's one in the head or one in the heart, just really evenly distributed through the main body. Um, there were ports on the outside of the body as well, also usually around the main body, usually here underneath where the arms would cover up. Some were indicated as just oil ports, so there's a place you take like a little oil or a grease gun or something and fill up oil that would go into the gears and whatnot inside, or distribute that lubrication throughout the body. And then they also found a couple of other ports that had this symbol on it. A little bit. So a second set of ports with this etched in the metal next to them, and they tried doing their learning skill, and Lars actually ended up getting a really big role. So Blitzman just happened to have remembered reading something about this. The Algi's rune, this symbol. So if this Elder Futhark runic alphabet or the Proto-Germanic language. Where's the one that has? Yeah. So an alphabet of character. Oh, I guess we're not going to zoom the picture. We're just going to zoom the page because we're being silly. If you've seen any D&D or Lord of the Rings stuff, this is like the runes that dwarves they always depict as their language being based off of. So basically, these runes were the uh, the language of this area. Germany prior to the 1200s, or going even further back. And the symbol. Oh, sorry, pictures up here. Why aren't I getting the preview? Windows is being difficult today. There we go. The Algi's rune appears to be the symbol of life. So you're thinking port has to do something with what powers them or makes them run, or if there is some sort of mystical component to it, some sort of blessing or charm that would go on this fluid that would be placed in the things. The tubes leading from these ports do appear to lead to these 12 nodes. Blitzman did some testing where he put his finger up to some of these ports and started shooting his lightning through the ports out towards the nodes. He actually had a really good roll, so he was able to finally control the current and voltage of the power he was sending through it. And they were able to see that through these ports, it was connected through to all 12 of these nodes. And he was able to get power to run through them, but to no effect. So this would be like if you're trying to put, I don't know, a pile of batteries in the tank of a gasoline engine. It's like you got it right. You're putting power and you're putting it in the right place, but it's the wrong type of fuel, as it were. Oliver Ramos also did something similar using his influence and mystic abilities to try to sort of power up or send some signal up through these different nodes. And again, he got some feeling, some feedback to say there is some kind of a connection there, but again, the wrong wavelength frequency or whatever the case is going to be. Like if you take your electrical device to Germany and plug it in, and it's 50 hertz instead of 60 hertz power, and the voltage is all different, so you can just destroy your device. Basically, it did seem that these 12 nodes in the main body appear to be what powers and/or serves as the brain for these devices. So that attacking one specifically may do some significant damage, but as they're distributed, they're kind of hard to target for. You can't like aim for the head, as it were. Let's see. They'd also discovered that the machines had no voice box or speaker system or any way of making voices or noise, and this did fit with the historical accounts of the soldiers never speaking. It was only the Iron Maiden who issued the commands. Oh, there's no little preview. But in the feet of the Clockwork Soldiers, there were a series of these like brass and bronze little hammers that would hammer out patterns onto the ground. And it seemed that this would be their sort of rudimentary way of communicating with each other. So, sergeants issuing orders to their soldiers and so forth, or even indeed receiving commands. They could sense these, like almost like a Morse code tapped out on the floor. That's how they would understand what they need to do. And then as far as physical abilities, they are sort of stronger than your average person, but not by exceeding power levels. It wouldn't be like the metamorph and his strength. And then as far as weapons too, they did not appear to have any built-in weapons. So there were no like laser eyes or knives coming out of the hands, or the classic Doctor Who automaton with the gun in his finger. They just use your classic arrangement of weapons of the time, so swords, shields, halberds, bows and arrows, and they had a sample of a lot of these weapons there in the museum, and they were all very well built. So they were built to the old style of these old school weapons, but they were using modern forging techniques, so a much higher quality of weapons. And it was told also from these documents and newspaper photos and whatnot that your standard soldier was usually sword and shield with a dagger, with some units being carrying halberds or glaives, or taller pole arms of some kind, and then some archer units. I think that was everything that you'd all asked about and found out. Lightning. Oh yeah, Eddie tried to do his whisper. There also just seemed to be one model across the board, so there weren't like workers and soldiers or elites or anything. It's just a standard mechanical robot soldier across the board.
Kurt, I don't remember if you said I picked up that Lucerne hammer at the museum or if I was getting it somewhere else.
Yeah, so and that was also I guess forgot to mention important. So as far as like damage types, you're imagining fire is probably going to do little to no damage to them. Cold probably will work because it'll, just the viscosity, the oil, and the gears seizing up, or the metal binding to itself. A blunt, forceful type attack, slamming, hitting it with just clubs and stuff, is probably maybe only moderately effective. Slicing, or any slashing weapons, of course, just going to have almost no effect at all. Piercing will just be your standard effectiveness. I mean, you still have got plate armor to go through, so it would be whatever their guard is. But once the bullet makes it through, it's going to tear through the gears and actually do proper damage. So, this was an opportunity for people to pick up another weapon if they wanted to have something a little bit more effective. For instance, Eric normally uses a sap because he's trying to be non-lethal. Go for that sensitive spot behind the neck to try to knock the guy out. That's probably going to do next to nothing against these things. So the museum does have a fair array of these classic weapons of different types. So if you're a character, I mean, Lars is playing Blitzman. He just shoots lightning. I think he has a gun that he carries for other uses or whatnot, but he doesn't really need to swap out any of his weapons. But if you have a weapon and you need something piercing instead, you could pick something up at the museum. You can go to your D&D history books, whatever, to pick out whatever kind of medieval weapon you want, or like a blue suit if you wanted to modify your Schlagstock to have a metal spike on it or something that would actually do some piercing damage to these, whereas just hitting them with the pipe is probably not going to do much damage.
But like a force move, like, so with my gun, with the force move damage, or it's a piercing damage. I mean, it's considered dexterous damage when I do my gun attack. Like,
let's see. I guess if it says it's, I know you're doing a force move. It is just like a force push kind of.
But I'm saying like the damage from the gun is like a gun type pierce. Are you saying like piercing damage has to be from a?
I think for something like that, I wouldn't push it so much. I would just say that would probably work all right. I was just going more for like if people were using like clubs or bats, like like a physical melee weapon, that wouldn't.
Yeah,
do
the
much.
staff does have like the disarm. I mean, like it's the knockdown. Like I guess I go more for Banes anyway. Like so I.
No, that's true. You do. I was just gonna say if you were using your Schlagstock just as like a damaging attack, hoping to get a little knockdown or something extra,
I
as
can
a
modify
damaging
and put a
attack, it
spike
probably would
on it
do.
or something. Maybe I have like a little screw-in spike that like.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's what one of the things that came out of the briefing was looking at your damage types and what might be more effective. So you could do a little modification to how it operates, and you know, yeah, put like a spike or a side spike or something, turn into a spear, something like that that would do a little bit more actual piercing damage.
Maybe
The
a
other thing for
shotgun with a slug.
well, yeah, or like a shotgun. You would, like for Alma Dieter, you usually has that sawed-off shotgun. She'd probably want to switch over to some slugs or some really big, like double-aught buck. Whereas anything smaller than that, it's not going to have enough punch to make it through the plates and do any significant damage. I think that was everything from there. Am I forgetting anything, or anyone have any other questions about what came about from the investigation there? Okay, and then the other lead that everyone we were running down was the matchbook that you found in the police van that had been driven by the fake Torben Voller or Constable Voller. After you realized that the real Constable Voller actually had been injured previously, and you realized that the previous fake Torben Voller was in fact the doppelganger, this Claudia von Falkenhayn, who you would had a run in with on the train, playing the little girl that pulled you all back to that back car and then nearly got you all killed. Well, not nearly, I should say. The fight itself is probably not too bad. Not too bad. So from there, the matchbook itself, that was the one from the Dicke Wirten. Behalte sie ab oder sie ist einfach fertig, or in the translation, the bar fat landlady, basically stop them or you're done. And this seemed to be an order issued to the doppelganger. So they went to the Dicke Wirten. This is the bar. So it is a standalone building. As I said, you've got stained glass windows on sort of this side, and then just plain glass windows on the other. This is sort of early evening as you're heading into the bar. There are several in the town of Breslau. This one is, I wouldn't say upscale, hoity-toity, fancy or anything, but it's definitely not a dive. It's a decent place, and they actually ran into a few local, well, at least not local college students home for the summer, drinking here at their local pub. One, I think Eddie had followed, or the Oliver Ramos had followed one of the waitresses back into the kitchen and saw, there's a couple of chefs working back there. There's a walk-in freezer as well as a door out. The main room and the sort of back are divided by these walls, so you can kind of walk in this area to access either of the restrooms, and there's a payphone there. Same thing for behind the bar. You can head in either there's this one door marked private, or then the kitchen, one of those little double flapper doors. Everyone, as I said, was just numbered. So from 99 down for staff and anyone working there, from 11 up for any of the patrons. And then as far as color, the yellow or green indicating, roughly, whether you would gauge that person as a threat or not. If they're green, you have a hard time believing they'd actually pull out a gun, take a shot or something. The team split up throughout the room. Now, I just added you two in here to put you in some place. I'll pull Alma Dieter out since she's gone. I basically placed you where people might have been standing here talking to some folks. Blitzman was talking to this one rather gregarious and upbeat bartender in the back who was also kind of seeing through a little bit of his disguise. The four of them had all walked in together, and 94 asked about who the other ones were, and he put it off as, no, they were all separate. And he's kind of like, yeah, sure you were, but not challenging him, just being teasing, if anything. And then I think at one point Blitzman too was pointing out someone that was in the room that looked a little dangerous. I think he said like dangerous like me. Oh, there's Lars. So he was kind of joking off of that. Whereas Alma Dieter had actually gone up to the bartender number 96, and he seemed a rather gruff, unfriendly, professional, but he was not in the least swayed by Alma Dieter's beautiful appearance. The shooting star had sat down with this table of college students, and we're kind of getting the lowdown of what was going on all on around town. 14 and 15 are a little on the younger side. They looked a little shifty eyed and were sort of eyeing the door and various people in the place. And a couple people from talking to others about them discovered that these are kind of the two, shitty kids around town that are always getting into trouble and stealing things or starting bar fights or, basically just never matured past their teens. And Oliver Ramos had a kind of a fun re-entry. He was initially followed everybody else in invisible. He'd gone back out, actually teleported outside. And when the one waitress or server sort of stood to the side and was taking a break, was just about to light her cigarette, he strolled right in the front door and did his magic fire, lighting her cigarette, and made quite an appearance in the entrance. She was a little flabbergasted and tongue-tied, and then he immediately set to work on 14 and 15, just basically kind of freaking him out a little bit. He just basically, sat down next to him, just kind of gave him a little bit of the eyeballs, and they both appeared to be extremely nervous and maybe even looking to bolt. Around that time, Alma Dieter sat down at this table, which originally had these three maybe not so fine gentlemen who had also seemed a little suspicious. Also in the corner, we had a whole table full of the local lumberjacks, the lumber industry being the biggest one around town. They seemed to be decent fellows, but were a bit boisterous, and from the talking to the bartender, had a history of getting a little drunk, a little bit too happy some nights. Alma Dieter sat down with these three with her gloves off, so with her horribly scarred hands trying to make an impression, and they seemed relatively unfazed by it. They had a little bit of a verbal fencing match back and forth with the three of them seemingly, again, unfazed by it. 35 had excused himself to go to the restroom, and then finally 34 asked Alma Dieter to dance, although throughout the whole discussion or the conversation, there was a lot of double speak, hidden messages, and or what was the word we used the last time? That's quite
Double entendre.
not quite double entendre. I mean, basically, when 34 stood up and asked her to dance, you got the impression he was actually asking her to fight, just the opposite. Although maybe coyly saying he was going to dance, as they didn't seem to be making any overt physical attacks or movements. About the same time, people had also noticed that 35, who had excused him to go to the restroom, was in fact standing behind the table of lumberjacks and was whispering to all of them when everything seemed to kick off. So 34 and 28 sort of stood up. Again, they're not drawing any weapons or anything, and they seem to have a smile on their face, but it seems like more of a wry smile and some deception behind it. But the main issue in this moment, so not only do you now perceive these three as a threat, in this moment, all of the lumberjacks are pretty much slamming their drinks down on the table and are standing up like they're all extremely upset. And they all start shouting to the rest of the bar about all of you, basically pointing out every one of you in this bar, saying that you are all foreigners here. You were sent by the government to stir the hornet's nest, that you would dare go up onto the mountain and try to mess with the castle. You're going to bring the Iron Lady, out of her slumber and rain death upon the entire town. You're going to be the ruin of them all. Let sleeping dogs lie and all that. So they're, yelling this all in anger, and they're trying to egg on the rest of all of the people in the bar. Like they just found this out, and they're absolutely horrified and pissed off. And now they're going to show you what for. And this is pretty much where we ended, right at the very end, with the actual initiative roll, which we'll do now. Yeah, and for the metamorph in blue suit, I figured there would have been someone talking to these two tables, and I just rolled dice for which one would be which table. So it's kind of a random drop. And also, in case anyone was watching, I did relabel them lumberjacks to be clear. They are a lighter pink rather than red because they just seem to be upset civilians rather than an actual criminal or something, or just in their behavior. And I did actually move the servers out. I mean, they had been making their rounds back and forth. I wasn't updating them, so I put them pretty much where they stand. Everyone can list off your initiative.
12. 12.
All right. Yep.
I had 2 8 explosions. 41. Now, why can't I
Nice.
get that on a hit?
14.
18.
16.
Oh wow, still in the teens.
Oh, also, Kurt, heads up. I might have to dip out like 30 minutes or like 20 minutes early. Maybe. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I know. Yeah, hopefully we should get to more story stuff by then, so we shouldn't be have to worry about any. All right, garbage. There.
Can you hear Owen? He's bad.
I'll put everyone in order. Okay, and it is a shooting star first with an epic 41 on his initiative roll.
So I am going to start my haste and resistance, and
Okay.
I'll have it resist versus might, I get, or whatever you use.
Yeah, the forceful. Yeah.
Right, forceful. That's the word.
Oh.
And I think, let's see. I'm trying. That's a. I think that's a move action instead of a major action, or is that a minor action? I'm trying to remember. I know that one of them is very low because of the. Anyway, let me look it up
Yeah.
because I've got Boon Focus 1 on haste and 3 on resistance. And I'm trying to remember.
So 3 would mean it's free all the time, and 1 would be it turns into an easier kind of action to use. So like
Yeah,
Right.
one just means you don't have to roll for it, but it still costs a major action. I mean, believe me, you can't just turn on 2
Right.
things with no
Right,
cost
right.
at all. But yeah, if you have Boon Focus 3 for your resistance, which I believe you do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, there.
So they're both on, but that was my major action.
Yeah,
And
you just
so
keep the move left.
So I'm not gonna get up to tip off that, I'm not gonna start attacking. I will stand up, but I'm not going. Let me start again. I'll stand up, but I'm not gonna move over and act like I'm gonna start attacking.
Yeah, you're not
But
making any
I get my sap
overt.
out.
Yeah, you're not making like an overt,
Right.
combat pose. You're kind of kicking on the powers and just standing up, like, "Oh,
Yep.
boys, let's talk about this." I'm
Yeah.
not going to totally smack you over the head with my
Yep.
staff. Okay. And two, I mean, any besides sustaining stuff, and a minor action would be again picking up an item, opening, closing doors, doing a perception check, doing a knowledge check. Any of those you can always do
Right.
at any time in your turn too.
So my perception would be that the people who are red and or pink are the bad guys, or potentially dangerous.
Yeah. So I mean,
Or
you
should I
basically
re-rolling that?
when we're cutting Alma Dieter's out tonight, but she was having the conversation with the 3 of them, and Oliver Ramos saw the conversation unfolding, and he started walking over to the table, kind of with a concerned look. So between hearing the conversation, seeing his facial expressions, seeing all three of them stand up from the table, you're thinking there's something going on here. Although, again, they're still not armed and they're still just kind of smiling, backing up with their hands up. And then you see the disturbance is coming from these guys here. So you're not even 100% what to make of it. Like, do these guys pay these guys? Or these guys just assholes and they egg them on? Were these guys going to attack anyways and they're just watching and thinking it's all funny? You're a little bit assessing the scene there, but that's what you see so far. Like, no one's actually drawn any weapon or made an overt action just yet.
So I do want to make a perception roll to see if I notice any like unexpected weapons on just the two closest to me.
Okay, yeah.
Like a ring that looks like it might have a little,
Poison
poker or something, that type of things. And I got a total of an 18.
Yeah, we gotta get all the cats on the cameras.
Yeah.
Get the cat on Mike's camera talking to the cat on Taylor's.
That's just Katie being, yeah. Look, I mean,
I think Taylor's cat's just staring at him, going, "When are you feeding me? I just fed you. I know, but when are you feeding me again?" So,
I basically said exactly that, but I was muted.
Okay, yeah. So make that perception roll.
I got a total of an 18.
18. Okay. Not bad, and you don't see anything. So, even his jacket is hanging a little open. You don't see like a gun hanging there. You don't see anything. Maybe like he's got a hands, but he has a brass knuckles on or something like that. It does. Maybe one of them has a ring, but it appears to be a mundane ring. You don't see like a coiled up gun on some kind of spring in his sleeve, or nothing seems to pop out that you can see. But studying them in up close, you don't like the look on their face. It's it's not the look of a nice person just passing on the street. That does not mean you any harm. And next, let's see, nothing happens there. So blue suit.
so my character stands up. A mighty Scotch pine. No.
Oh yeah. I didn't even. There was a tiny lumberjack reference there, and I didn't even realize we have Michael Palin, the original lumberjack, in the house. So.
And I'm okay.
So actually, Eric had been seated. Lars is standing. Oliver was seated. Was standing. I just had you guys as standing here, so you don't have to worry about standing up from a seated position. It's like you'd walked over the table and you were kind of asking questions. So you can play it from there. Let's see. I'll turn annotation on.
So it's just flat out that these guys are like, you damn bureaucrats and your bullshit, blah blah blah, right? That's what we're looking at.
The main. I mean, again, you heard conversations. You saw Oliver Ramos walking over, concerned. This would have been all Medina standing up from a chair, backing off of these guys she was sitting with. But you haven't seen anything over there. Whereas all the lumberjacks, they do appear to be very upset with. Look, we're a peaceful little town. We just want to live our life. That supervillain used to operate out of there, but she never bothered us. She never came to town. You pick this up in the museum, too. Even though this is the closest city, she never went anywhere near the city in all of her operations. It was always off to far-flung places to rob precious metals and stuff and bring them back to the castle. She never messed around with the town. And the police chief had gone over this in his briefing as well, that she'd never messed with the town. And even back when he was a young cop, when he first started here, his instinct was, we got to go charge the castle, just take out once and for all. But the mayor had put the kibosh on that and said, you're not going anywhere near it. And he has since come to that same opinion. It's really better left undisturbed. Also, the police chief had said that he's under orders to assist you all in any way you need for your operation, because the government is basically telling him, the federal government is doing something to do this. So he will give you food, supplies, shelter, any equipment, anything you need. But as far as literally going on, trespassing on the land around the castle,
Yeah.
the chief is under orders to supply no help. So, if you guys are up there and calling for help or something, no one's coming to help. No one locally is going anywhere near the castle or coming with you. So these guys, these lumberjacks, appear to be expressing this same sentiment of "we never messed with her," and it's like they all figured out you guys are here to come stir up the hornet's nest, and now they're in a panic because they
Right.
think you're all going to get
Sure.
killed.
Okay.
And the add on to that the fact that they're big burly lumberjacks who are really really drunk, and they're just like raring to fight.
All right. So I will move here. Does that work? No. I will move 2 spaces up from Oliver. Oliver. Yeah, I can talk. Yeah, just there.
Okay.
Deploy my mask up, my goggles down, and through my loudspeaker go, "Oi! We're not here to screw with anyone's business. We're not here to cause any problems. We're just asking a few questions. This has nothing to do with you. We're not going to cause any problems with you. We're just trying to solve a mystery and stand down." And I'll roll my presence. Both
Yeah.
advantage 2. This is what I get for missing last week. 8, 4, 2, 14. Where's the other one? That's a 17 total.
Okay. Let's see. I guess I'll leave it for now and describe their reaction when it comes to their turn. It's really on their turn. Yeah.
That's my turn.
But I basically got it. You did your cop like badge out, mask on, all serious, like stand down for the police.
Just letting them know, like, we're not here to screw with your living. And I'll be holding my flashlight in a just kind of like it's in my hand. Nothing offensive.
Yeah.
Nothing other than just like, oh, it's a flashlight. What could he possibly do with that?
Yeah. Not trying to egg them on or pull guns and escalate or something like that. Okay.
To be fair, it was a loudspeaker, so like that bolster to my presence is the
So
the entire bar hears this is really what I'm going with.
Yeah. It's not just like a normal person, and there's no like background music and stuff. Some of the lumberjacks were chanting and singing at one point, but there's really no local music or anything being performed here. Okay, so that's it for that one, and then the metamorph.
All right. I kind of want to stir some things up. People have seen me.
I'm coming right off like the blue suit. Okay, I get it. You're like trying to stand down, calm things down, not stir things up. Okay, next metamorph. I want to stir things up. All right, let's go.
I'm gonna like slowly turn around, and I'm just gonna try to bullshit them and try to make them believe that we are actually a part of the Iron Maiden, and we are actually spies for them. In fact, these are the imposters, and I want to do like some summon creature shit where I have like some little baby Iron Maidens come from behind me. Like it's just like we are not the foreigners; they are.
I want a screenshot of Eddie's reaction on that. It was just glasses up, pinching the bridge of his nose, shaking his head. Okay.
This is literally the encounter where I can just charm all of them and we'd all be done. We'd all be done.
You gotta get that initiative, man.
All right, Leroy Jenkins, make your alteration roll, and make a deception check also.
Yes. Oh well, I guess you're not gonna have to worry about that. 7 and a 4 is 11, 12 on the check. So the summon doesn't happen.
Okay.
Let's go with deception. Looks like no one's coming out. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Deception is 20 though.
Okay. So you're making a pretty decent case. for the fact that you're all actually spies for the Iron Maiden. And I just realized I've been doing my initiative like order and all that kind of stuff on my own spreadsheet, which you guys can't see. So next time I'll add to the whatever, if we're doing a map, I'll actually add initiative order so you guys can see it. I wasn't even thinking that. You guys are just waiting for me to tell you, or unless you remember, I can tell you who goes next.
So
I mean,
basically,
whenever we played in person, we had those initiative strips that everyone could see. I'm doing it in Excel because that's where I got all my stuff. But I just now realized after all these fights we've already had that you guys have no idea just from looking at it who's next to the initiative order. So I'll add that for next time. Let's see. Okay,
I kind of realized that the summon creature didn't really work out. I was like, oh, something was supposed to happen there. Oh, give me a moment. But Jacques!
So that was you made your actually tried the summon, you did the deception, and then do you want to move or any other minor actions?
I'm gonna stay right there.
Okay. And Oliver Ramos. Actually, maybe if I do this.
They all rolled lower than we did.
Yeah, yes and no.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see. This will be initiative order. So we got Eric, and then we got.
You have two of everyone.
And then blue suit, metamorph. There's your initiative order.
Okay. This may or may not work. It probably won't. But I am going to do a cube of charm.
Let's see.
At disadvantage 4. God almighty.
Okay, so you're doing what a cube, a four, two, essentially a 10 by 10 cube.
Yeah. Whatever gets me that disadvantage 4, I just want to get all of them.
Two. I mean, I guess that's the most you could fit in one. Actually, you'd be probably better with a line.
Well, I want to get all of them.
You like that?
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah.
Let's see. I still think. Let's see. It's disadvantage per edge, and cubes have to be even. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, and then 1, 2. Well, maybe cube would be the easiest.
That'll be disadvantage 16.
Yeah, that's that's what I'm trying to avoid.
So a cube, you target a cube with equal length, width, and height. The attack suffers disadvantage 1 per 5-foot length of the cube side. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be disadvantage 4. A line is disadvantage 1 per 10-foot length. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, this, or actually here, that cube, disadvantage 4. You could hit all those dudes.
For some reason, I don't want to hit 35 though. It almost doesn't make sense. I kind of want to turn them against the other three.
You could do this.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Okay.
Also, I don't know what those guys are, so I'm just gonna not. So disadvantage 4 with a charm. I've got 5 legend points stored up, so I'm gonna throw 2 on there. Just off the bat. So it's disadvantage 2 instead.
Well, you can always. I mean, the rules are. It's not.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you can always add them as you go. And this is okay. Power level 6. It's just versus their resolve. Isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
So, hey, they're lumberjacks. They might be pretty resolute.
Now, when you use the legend points in this situation, would you roll them after you roll your disadvantage stuff?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. It's
Or-
it's almost like the order of operations. Parentheses, exponents, multiple. You kind of have to do the roll first, get